And the next thing I wanted to mention was the idea of behaviors in networks and how people act in these networks. So what we usually do, because it's easy, is that we take some survey answers from, we survey people, and we try to find some clusters or target groups in terms of how people are belong to these different subgroups based on the influences on behaviors or determinants that their questionnaire answers depict. But let's consider this idea that if everyone would have this a threshold model of rioting. So if we have John in a peaceful protest, and he never he only goes haywire if someone else starts trashing stuff. So he's kind of an unbalanced guy, but yeah, as long as nobody goes crazy, he's really it's okay. But then we have Sarah, who has this rule that I never riot unless two other people are rioting. And then there is Jane, who needs to observe three other people rioting, and then she joins in, and so forth. And then we have this one person who starts rioting, and suddenly this one person causes John to join in, and now there are two rioters who cause Sarah to join in and Jane to join in, because now there are suddenly four rioters and so forth. So if everyone would be following this sort of a threshold model, it's also depicted in a panic model, in a sort of computer simulation of how panics would theoretically spread in when people are trapped in some closed space and they start following other people's reactions. So in that kind of a situation, no individual would seem like they are going to start rioting, but suddenly after one person does so, everyone else joins in. So if John wouldn't be there, then then the whole riot would have never taken place, because there would have never been two rioters maybe. And another example to think about is like what happens to the tails of the distribution when we give people a Likert scale answer. So somewhere you must choose an answer between 1 and 5, or between 1 and 7 usually. And but what if you feel so strongly about a situation that you would want to answer 1,000? Well, we just assume that everyone who answers 5 is just the same. And everyone who answers 1 is the same. So we don't have people who would answer minus 1,000 if they were given the option, and giving them the option doesn't really work for methodological reasons and how response processes happen. But anyway, so there's a problem, because if you have a social network, such as what we are observing here, if this person would be very tightly connected with his neighbors, and he would be a guy who really feels 10,000 on a scale from 1 to 5 on this metric, then he has really potentially very disproportionate influence to all the people around him. And so there's if you want to have a look, there's a simulation study that presented in this chapter, and a couple of other papers by the same people. But yeah, we would never know that if we would just see that, hey, here's a guy who answers 5 to this survey. And there's also something to be said about the backfire effect in these networks. And so the thing is that if we have a spread of awareness, so everyone knows that everyone is expected to do something, but there is a lack of behavior. So everyone also knows that nobody else is doing that behavior that everyone should be doing. Then they infer that, oh, well, actually, fuck it. It doesn't seem important, or maybe it's even dangerous or stupid. So uh, this sort of a thing where you have a large awareness campaign for something that doesn't pick up on people's behaviors very fast, there's a decent risk of it backfiring. And there are also other things about networks, such as what if people, so there have been studies that have shown that when people have more than one people who are influencing them, their behaviors change much more rapidly than if there are just one person influencing their, or giving the social support or social influence to them. But if you want to know more, Damon Santola's presentations, you can find them on YouTube, are pretty decent. And also the book Change, it's a quite nice listen also, as an audiobook.